Hi, my name is Pamela. I've been incarcerated for 32 years. I'm about to be 55 years old, and I'm at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility.
I'd love to start out with what it is that makes you happy.
I love to play softball. It's one of the things I get to do here in the summer months, and that makes me really happy. So besides being with my family and friends, that's one thing inside here that makes me happy.
And how do you play in here?
We play in the yard, and it's kind of like a bootleg setup. It's half grass, half field type of thing, but when I play, I feel free.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a game somewhere at some playground or park, and I just feel extremely free. Like I totally concentrate on the game, forget I'm in prison, and it's my favorite thing to do. And I'm still hanging in there because I'm getting kind of old, so I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to play, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah. And I bet you have younger girls in here that you're playing with, right?
Yeah, but I'm actually out running them and out playing them still, so yeah, it's the younger girls are very lazy these days.
Is there something in particular that you worry about?
My mother. Yeah, I worry about my mom all the time. Unfortunately, she broke her hip last week. And she was at the hairdresser's, and the guy forgot to lock the chair. When she got in the chair, she fell and hit the sink. The chair spun. It was one of those swivel chairs. Mm-hmm. So she had to go to emergency surgery the following day and was in a nursing home. It just came home yesterday. That was very hard for me because I can't be there for her to take care of her. And my dad is taking care of her, but he's 83 years old. So that was really tough. It still is really tough.
And how old is she?
She's 81.
Mm. And she live nearby? Are you able to visit?
No, they live in Florida. So she's been unable to come see me due to compromised health throughout COVID and not wanting to travel because of COVID. And so I haven't seen either of my parents in 3 years. And now that they're in Florida, it's just a lot harder.
There was a poem that you wrote which was so touching to me of being a mother.
It was about, I got sent to prison when I was 22 years old. So I did not have any children at that time. And so because I have a life sentence without any possibility for parole, one of the side effects of that was that I could never have children, being incarcerated all of my life. And so I believe that you're talking about a poem that was called Emptiness Inside. And I was speaking about wanting to be a mother and wanting to have a child and feeling like not a whole woman because I couldn't experience that.
Thinking about you talking about your life sentence without a possibility of parole, what motivates you?
Well, God. I have a deep sense of spirituality, and I live a life of service here. I decided long ago that I would try to make my life as rich as possible despite my circumstances. So I do a lot of work with the other women here, and in school, in the grievance office where I work, and advocacy work, and so I work all the time. And I thank God I have the energy of a 12-year-old, so I'm okay, and I run around all day, and it just keeps me going because I'm busy and I feel like I'm doing things that are good, and I see, the help and the changes and, the results of my efforts. So, I feel like I just want to keep my mind sharp and stay, enjoying the life that I do have. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be angry. I want to be as positive as I can, so I keep myself involved in positive things. There's a lot of people that are angry, bitter, miserable, and, they're still here. So, only you have to live with yourself. And I don't want to live with a person every day that is that way. And so I do my best, focusing and hoping that one day this will end,
Yeah. And that's probably why you feel so young too, right? You're not.
Well, I never take a nap. I'm always running. I try to stay in shape with sports, and I keep my mind in shape, going to school, writing, doing things, so.
Yeah, that's great. And that's great to hear, because I've been in prisons, and they can just be so oppressive. There's that dark cloud.
Yeah, no, it's totally an oppressive environment.
Yeah.
But I think that life is a choice. Every day you choose what you're going to do with the day in front of you. Mm-hmm. And I choose to live in a peaceful state in the midst of the chaos that's going around me. And honestly, it may sound corny, but I have the joy of the Lord in my heart, and my circumstances can't take that away. Yeah. They can't. They just can't. I might lose it for a minute or whatever, but they can't take it from me.
What's your job?
I work in the grievance office. I'm the elected grievance representative for the prison. Every 6 months, I have to run and be elected again in order to keep the job. And I'm in my 9th term right now. So I handle all complaints, and there are no shortage of complaints. People just see me, and I'm the problem lady.
Would you want to share a typical day with us?
A typical day. Well, this morning was really a typical day. Before 8 o'clock, everyone, I was called all over the place before the day even started, because there were problems on all the housing units. And Sergeant was calling me, the officers were calling me, because there was a lot of confusion about policy and procedure that was recently changed about the housing unit operations. So I was called to get what the rules are, pull the rules, go back, talk to people, explain what's happening, get some clarification from supervisors about how things are supposed to be operating. And pretty much my day starts I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I pray, I take a shower about 6, and then I handle whatever already happens or is coming my way even before I get to work at 8 o'clock. And at night I try to play racquetball for at least an hour and a half every night, make phone calls, do what I have to do, for myself, and that's pretty much typical days. On the weekends, I go to church. I have visits sometimes, throughout the day, and I also just finished a PhD program, so I was going to school for a while, and I'm hoping to start another master's program in the fall. I've been in school forever, and I'm still in school. I love to learn.
So are your programs, are they in person or are they correspondence?
Both. I did one master's program through correspondence, another master's program through in-person learning. I did the PhD through correspondence because, of course, that was during COVID. And this master's that I just applied for, if I get in, it's going to be in-person learning from New York Theological Seminary. It's a pretty prestigious school. So I'm hoping they're not going to say I'm overqualified and that I will be able to do it.
Tell me about the person you were before you came here and the person that you are today.
It's funny because I've really always been the person I am today. Okay, however, I'm just much wiser, much less naive. I feel like before, being that I was so young, and 22, I feel like I was I was not as focused on other people as I am now. I did do some service work, before I came into prison, but on the level that I do things now, very little has to do with myself, and my days and nights have to do with everyone else. So I've become a lot less selfish. Although I wouldn't have described myself as a selfish person, I'm just more aware of the needs of other people and, focusing on that and how important that is. So I think that's probably the biggest change. And of course, I'm a lot more world weary. I've seen things that I wish I never saw, or experienced things I wish I never had. So Yeah.
Well, that's a gift that you're giving back so much.
I
right?
try to, it is. I feel like the more I'm blessed with and the more I learn, I always end up giving it back to everyone. You know, I never just like learn and keep it all to myself.
Is there any relationship that you want to talk about?
I have great friends inside prison. I know people say you can't find friends in prison, but you can. And I have great friends outside of prison, and for people that stayed by my side for the whole incarceration. And then I have other families that I created, you know, from friends and people inside here. That a problem for me is that everyone leaves but me. You know, so my life is always about having friendships and then losing the physical person with me because everyone goes home. So that's rough for me, but a lot of my friends that went home still stay in touch. So that to me is beautiful and speaks to the fact that you can really get friends in prison.
Yeah. I would love to open the floor to you and have you ask anything that is on your mind.
I just really feel like a lot of times people in prison are seen as one-dimensional, and you know, we're described or forever frozen in our worst mistake, and our lives, like that defines everything about us. And we're people, we're humans, there's more to us. And I feel like, especially people that have been in prison for a long time, after a certain amount of time, if you didn't learn whatever you were supposed to learn in being sent to prison, you're just never going to learn it. And I think that there should be some way to reevaluate people who have served 20 years, 30 years, and all this time to just determine whether there's a continued need for their incarceration or if they could be doing something better outside of prison. So.
And then one last thing, and because a lot of people haven't heard about our program about humans in San Quentin, is there anything you want to say about it?
Well, I think it's a great program because it encourages people to write and find a voice. And not only to write, but then putting the writings out there. So a lot of programs come into prison and they want you to write, and you write in these groups, and then the writings never go into the world. And I think that it's so important for people to be able to read things that are written by people in prison and to see themselves in those same struggles. I think that's great, fabulous.